strong.
Welcome back to Crypto for Freedom, where we talk about gaining financial freedom through the cryptocurrency markets. Today we talk about Dogecoin and if Dogecoin is going to come up and make a new high this cycle. Now, so far Dogecoin has been struggling to come up and break the high above 74 cents that it made in May of 2021. And I'm curious to see if Dogecoin is going to be able to come up and break this high this cycle and put in a new high. If you guys want to find out where I think Dogecoin is going to go to this cycle, make sure to stick around to the end of the video. Now, jumping back into Bitcoin, you can see that Bitcoin is still finding resistance at the top of these bull markets and support along the bottom side of this bull market. Now, it's decision time really soon, in my opinion, if Bitcoin is going to be able to break out of this rising wedge to the upside or start its bear market and find a retracement down to the downside. Historically, the market peaks out 548 days from the halving, which the last halving occurred over here in February of 2024. And it's been roughly 546 days since then. Historically, the charts say that this should be the end of the bull run for Bitcoin. But with game theory playing out right before our eyes, with institutional adoption and ETFs coming for Bitcoin, is this actually going to be the end of the bull run? Or are we going to see a super cycle sending Dogecoin and other altcoins to the moon? Make sure to put in the comments down below if you think we're going to head into a super cycle. Now, let's go ahead and take a look back over at Dogecoin a little bit closer here. Oh, there's a little dancing Doge. That's cool. Dogecoin is actually kind of forming its own rising wedge on the weekly time frame here, which is a bearish pattern. It also kind of seems like this might be a bear flag as well. If we kind of redraw these lines a little differently here, it almost seems like a bear flag. Here's the pull. Here's the flag. And the price target for a flag like this would be the length of the pull to the breakout, which, if the top of the market was in December of 2024 for Dogecoin, for the 4-year cycle, and we see this bear flag play out, we could actually see Dogecoin have an 85% retracement all the way down to 6 cents. That would be slightly diminishing losses, considering that the last bear market, Dogecoin dropped 93%. And that kind of makes sense, considering that Bitcoin's has been having diminishing losses, and with more adoption of Dogecoin happening, I could see diminishing losses over time. Now, zooming out a little bit more on the monthly chart, you can see that Dogecoin makes these symmetrical triangle patterns each and every cycle, finding lower highs and higher lows until it finally breaks out. And this last cycle has been no different. It makes me wonder, when are we going to see a parabolic move for Dogecoin, just like we've seen in every other cycle so far, finding a higher high, coming up and making a higher high. And, I'm wondering if the same is going to be true for Dogecoin this cycle, to come up and make a higher high. It seems to be taking a little bit longer this time, and that could be because the Fed just started cutting rates back in July of last year. And the last time the Fed cut rates, back here in June of 2019, you can see the Dogecoin price actually fell 75%. And what do we see most recently, right when the Fed started cutting rates? I'll draw a vertical line here just so you can see a little better. Well, first, Dogecoin pumped, but then we actually did end up seeing almost a 75% retracement. And if we were to see some crazy emergency Fed rate cut, like say they drop the rates again to 0, like they did back over here, and they just dropped these rates all the way to 0, we'd probably see the most epic Dogecoin pump that we've ever seen, really. And I just wouldn't be surprised if that happens because Dogecoin has historically came up and make a higher high in every cycle, and the trend is your friend until the end. So that's kind of what I'm counting on this time around too. Now, if you take a look at the Bitcoin chart and we overlay Dogecoin on top of that, what you'll actually see is when Bitcoin first made a peak right here in 2021, that's when Dogecoin peaked out. And I saw an influencer talking about yesterday how the crazy altcoin season was actually at the second peak for Bitcoin over here. But I want to say that I'm pretty sure the craziest altcoin season was actually in the first peak. That's when Dogecoin came up right here to make a new high. And other coins like Cardano, you can see that some of the most parabolic action happened right around that May time period right here, before, pretty far before November. That the market was kind of more cooling off by November. And, I just think that, we could possibly see Dogecoin still come up and make a new high this cycle. My breakout target is basically from the bottom of the triangle to the top, from where it broke out, and we'll just measure it over here. I think we could see Dogecoin break out and come up and see a 1,500% run by the end of this 4-year cycle, bringing it up to close to $4. And I think that Dogecoin could actually go anywhere between $4 and $16 this cycle. Now, if this was the top for Dogecoin, then that's why it's so important to have a plan to begin with the end in mind, and to have plans for multiple outcomes, and to have an emergency fund, have a long-term mind frame. Because if this was the top, then that means we're going to have another 1,096 days to accumulate before the next bull run. A lot of people underestimate how long it takes to get rich in crypto and how long 4 years actually really is. And I've heard that it takes 8 years to get rich in crypto. And I've only been in crypto basically since 2021. So my plan is to basically just work as hard as I can for the next 5 to 10 years and put as much money into Bitcoin and Dogecoin as I can, and just, create a beautiful life for myself. I basically already took life-changing gains, and I've seen my life change substantially over the last 4 years. In fact, I took profits last night, even a life-changing amount of profits last night, just to pay off my car loan and one of my credit cards. And I'm going to be, seeing the benefits of that moving forward in months to come. Not having to make those payments. Now I'm going to be able to take my income and buy more crypto, especially if we are going to be heading into a bear market from here and not seeing any higher prices, which is kind of unlikely in my opinion. Just considering that we've seen a higher high in every single cycle. And why wouldn't we be able to come up and see a new high this cycle, even if it took a little longer? So yeah, guys, just keep hodling and keep your faith. Make sure to take profits when you need to, and don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Remember, none of this is financial advice. Make sure to go check out all my links in the description for my playlists. Leave your feedback down below. Do you think Dogecoin is going to come up and see a new higher high this cycle, or was this the high for the cycle back here in November of last year? So with that, thanks to everybody again for returning to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace.